Congressman Andy Biggs, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Report again.
You bet. It's good to be with you.
Congressman, you sent a letter to the FBI recently yesterday, requesting to launch an investigation into a secret FBI audit. Tell us exactly what you're searching for.
Yeah, so what happened is Christopher Wray indicated that there had been no violations or a very limited number of violations, and yet the word we've received is that there was an audit performed which showed a serious number of infractions, which would indicate a couple of things. Number one, that the FBI was abusing its authority, at least in several instances. And then the second thing is that Christopher Wray, when he was testifying before Congress, had been less than truthful. And we need to get to the bottom of that, because when before Congress, you got to tell the truth, obviously, especially when you're sworn in. And the second thing is, if the FBI in certain instances is violating their duties and the law, then they need to be held accountable.
Congressman Biggs, I want to ask you about something else. Excuse me. Last week, the Justice Department announced 5 individuals were charged with harassing and spying on U.S. residents on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party's secret police. One of these cases is actually related to election interference. How concerning is this type of activity to you?
It's very concerning. I mean, I think we have thought for a long time, at least many of my colleagues and I have thought for a long time, that there's been Chinese Communist Party infiltration into a number of our institutions, whether it be post-secondary education, but also I have felt personally that just as the allegations against Russian interference into our elections have been in some ways overblown, but nonetheless real. And when I say overblown, I mean the instance of collusion between campaigns, the Trump campaign. I think that was proven to be not real at all. But we have neglected the notion that China has been also an active player and has some interest in infiltrating our election systems and compromising our election integrity.
You touched upon it. How widespread do you think this is, where the CCP is able to use U.S. citizens to spy or work on their behalf, as you mentioned, within our various institutions and beyond?
Well, I think the possibility is pretty broad and widespread, and here's why. Our economic relationship with China is so vast, so broad, so deep that it provides an opportunity to infiltrate various networks within the country. Secondly, is we have so many Chinese student visas that come over and other work visas that come over that you wonder, how broad can this be? When we talk about Russian infiltration, I mean, it would be comparatively small to the CCP, and the reason is there's just so much, such a larger network of interconnectivity between the United States and our institutions, including our economic institutions, and China.
It's a very interesting point. Congressman, Antony Blinken, Secretary Blinken yesterday actually restricted visas of Chinese officials who are involved in persecuting religious minorities in China. From your perspective, should further action be taken, and if so, what can be done?
Well, that certainly is a long overdue action in my estimation. First of all, I mean, he's attacking the notion of what's going on with the Uyghur Muslim population and other dissidents and the attacks by the CCP on them. I mean, if you're outside the CCP, you're treated as a second-class citizen, if that well. So the first thing is there. I think the other thing is to encourage a repatriation of our economic institutions and our corporations and our manufacturing that is sitting in China and our dependency upon the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, that really is something that I think President Trump was trying very hard to do. And the reason I think he was trying to do it is twofold. It's a blessing to our own economy and our self-sufficiency at home. which was greatly exposed during the COVID epidemic, and how reliant we were on Chinese manufacturing. But it also sends a message to the leaders of the CCP and China, and that's an important thing. I mean, I'm never a big believer in intervention internationally, but I do into another nation's domestic politics. But I do think that we have a responsibility to an America First foreign policy, which actually would be beneficial to non-CCP citizens of China.
Congressman Andy Biggs, thank you.
Thank you. Good to be with you.